So I had a camera that I was using, the Canon T6i, and this morning I just happened to go on bestbuy.com just to see, you know, because it's the holiday season, so stuff gets on sale or whatever. So I went on there and I saw that the when I bought the Canon T6i, it was like $150 off. So then when I looked today, it was $300 off. So I went back to Best Buy and said, look, you know, I want to get the difference in price, because I obviously paid $150 more than people are paying today. So anyway, what happened was, instead of getting the $150 back, I just upgraded the camera. Period. Focus on me. I just upgraded the camera. So 70-70D. So I'm going to meet a friend of mine who I'm looking forward to introducing you to. It's Damon Brown. He moved to Toledo a couple of months ago. He's an author. He's got a couple of books I'm going to ask him about so he can explain to you his thing. Damon.
Okay, how are you?
Hello. Good to see you.
Good timing.
Yes.
Where would you like to sit?
You want to sit with Lisa?
Sure. For calamari, so I was like, calamari's on there? Yeah, that's gonna happen.
He's got a new book. I want to show you guys his book. I bought this book on Amazon. Can we show him? Bite-Sized Entrepreneur, the trilogy. Now, I'm an entrepreneur.
Yes.
And I kind of want to give you a little bit of a little test here. As an entrepreneur, what is something typically most entrepreneurs do inefficiently about running a business?
I think the first thing that they do, the main thing they do, is knowing when to do it and when to delegate. And that's a really difficult thing for entrepreneurs that have much more experience than I have. People that I defer to, people that are my mentors, they have a challenge with that too. I have a chapter in the book called Dirty Work. And for my first app, So Quotable, I did every single part of it, from the programming to the design to the marketing. I did a TED Talk that was connected to it. Like, I did everything related to it. So then a year later, when I co-founded Cuddler, which became a pretty popular app and ended up getting acquired about a year after we started, when I got on board that, I focused on the marketing, the launch, and things of that nature. But when my co-founder was the main programmer and my other co-founder was the main artist, I knew what they were doing. And I understood the system. And so when they talked about putting stuff into the cloud, when they talked about the servers being overwhelmed because we were lucky enough to have, a couple 100,000 users, those discussions were not over my head. And so I think it's that careful balance, particularly if you're a solo entrepreneur like myself or a solopreneur. Understanding the intricacies of it is actually a benefit. One of the things that people often will do is, particularly if they have funding or have some money, is that the first thing is that they'll say they'll offload it. It's like, I'm not going to deal with marketing, I'll offload it. Right. The customer service, I'll go to Zendesk or something, no offense to Zendesk, and I'll offload it. And the thing is that by me being at the wheel and doing all the details, I was able to understand my users in an intimate way that other folks who had a ton of funding, because I bootstrapped both of the companies or both of the apps. So people that had a ton of funding didn't understand some of the stuff that I understood about my audience.
Yeah.
So there's something about getting your hands dirty, getting your feet wet, really getting in there and getting gritty with it, even for a short period of time, even if you have the funding, even if you have a choice. There's something beautiful about doing that, because once you're able to do that, there's that great opportunity to move forward and say, I know how this works. I think the second part of it too, which, as you thought about it quite a bit, the second part of it is once you do offload it, you know what to actually tell people.
For people who are not building, let's say, I'm opening a barbershop and I want to scale. Maybe I want to ultimately, my dream is to have 2 or 3 barbershops, or I'm a hairdresser, or I got a fashion line, or things like that. Maybe not a technology-related business, but a tech-enabled business.
Yes. Which most are now.
Yeah, most are tech-enabled businesses. How do I set myself up for success? And that's a very general question, but some of the tips that you have in the book, what are some things I can do to proactively be ready to make sure that I'm successful when I open my doors for the first time? Just give me like 3 really good tips I can do.
Sure. The first one, which I've been thinking about a lot, is creating your system. So I'm a big fan of Jim Rohn. He's a motivational speaker. He passed away recently, but he trained Tony Robbins and other folks, and I love his speaking. I just discovered him. And one of the things he talks about is, I talk about the analogy in the book, is that you have people that come up to you and say, I'm ready to become a millionaire. Or they'll say, I'm ready to run a Fortune 50 company. And then he might ask, well, what are you doing with the $50 in your pocket? Well, I don't know where it went. Well, what are you doing with the small team you're leading now? Well, they're kind of knuckleheads, so I have to figure it out. Well, if you're not ready for your $50 allocations, if you're not ready to lead a 5-person team, then how can you run? A team of 50,000 or 5,000 people? How can you handle $1 million? So what I talk about in the book is creating systems now. I'm doing this myself, where my business changed a few years ago when I shifted from traditional writing and some public speaking to more entrepreneurship. Great, thank you. I shifted to that. And now my thing is growing again, where the success of the book, the great public speaking opportunities, the people and the circles that I've been involved in, I can see it growing. And so I'm already starting to put systems in place that right now don't make much sense. I don't need these huge allocations. I'm not a millionaire yet. I don't run this huge company. But if that were to begin tomorrow, those systems will be in place. So number one, creating your systems before you need them. Because you don't want to be that guy that suddenly has a hit on his or her hands, and then you're trying to create a system as you're trying to build your company. Yeah. And I know you, right.
I was that guy.
I wouldn't say you're that guy, but you can relate to it.
Yeah, I can totally relate.
You've had some successes. Number two, which ties into number one, and I'm sure you can relate to this too, people tend to prepare for failure. They'll have a plan B, C, D, all the way down to Z, which is fine. I respect that. But people often don't plan for success. And that goes back to the system idea. When we had launched Cuddler back in 2014,
tell them what Cuddler was, so
yeah,
people
of course.
know context.
So Cuddler was this really basic idea. You pull out your phone, you see who's in the area, and you can share a hug. That's it. It wasn't a dating app, it wasn't a hookup app, because as you probably know, in 2014 at the time, there was Tinder, there was Grindr, there was Coffee Meets Bagel, there was a ton of things that were talking about hooking up. Yeah. And or finding someone to marry or have a long-term partnership with. And we found a unique space in that field. And obviously people needed it, because within a week of us launching in September 2014, we had 100,000 users, we had 10,000 completed cuddles, and we had a ton of media attention. Within a year, we ended up getting acquired by choice, which is great, because we actually decided to move on, which is a great place to be.
For sure.
Right? But back in September, when we launched, it was like, we were bootstrapping. It was just 3 guys. We were on 3 different countries, America, and up in Canada, and then my most active co-founder was over in the UK, so he was in England. And so we're just three guys working together on this thing. We bootstrapped it all summer, we launched it, and it became a huge viral hit. #1 in several countries. And the thing is that if we didn't have those systems in place, if we weren't thinking about success, which was I was kind of the strategic person, so thinking about the media success and also where we wanted to go. If I wasn't planning on that, and if we weren't planning on that, and we weren't going forward, then we would have flamed out really quickly. Instead, we ended up having a really good year of growth, and then we moved on, we cashed out. Wonderful experience, and some of the stuff I talk about in the book. So that's #2, is preparing for success as much as you prepare for failure. I think the third thing is to actually have an excellent team. And
so
like I said,
so important.
right? I'm a solopreneur. Right before we got on the air, we were talking about that. The people that are around you are so important. And when I'm very fortunate in that I was a journalist back in Silicon Valley, so I was up there from 08 to 11. And as I've talked to you in the past, so sorry for the ad nauseum, but from 2008 to 2011, you know, the iPad came out. The iPhone was just really taking off. In fact, it came out the year before I got up there. Steve Jobs died. I had some wonderful people that I was actually connected with that became millionaires and in charge of some of the unicorns that are still around now, and some people that flamed out. And it was an amazing, intense time up there. But what happened is that me being a writer for the New York Post and Playboy and other folks, I connect with all these people who are IP lawyers who, again, were in charge of these unicorns. Some of them became my friends. People who became millionaires overnight. And so when I became an entrepreneur several years later in San Diego, back in, again, 2014 or so, I had this network to call on, and it's people who wanted to see me shine. And what's really important is that once I was reporting on them or covering them or became friends with them later, I wanted to see them shine. So it wasn't a matter of me having this network and just being like, oh, okay, I'm an entrepreneur now. I got my hoodie on. Come help me. It was like, no, these are people who were part of my tribe, through, the TED conference, through these other organizations, through being involved in Silicon Valley. And so I was able to call on them quite literally when I didn't know what the heck I was doing, and they were able to help me. And so really building that network again before you actually need it. It's not about having it.
Now, how do you do that? Are you asking people, hey, will you be my mentor? Or are you asking people that, hey, I'm building something, will you be an advisor? How do you build those relationships?
I'd say I'm starting to believe in the reverse. You see how you can be of service to other people, and you've shown that, so I know you understand that, how you can be of service of other people. And if you are of service to other people, people will recognize that and people will support that. That doesn't mean you're a doormat. It doesn't mean that you just give up everything to help other people. That means that if you see a way to help other people shine, you do it.